The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected.
Reverberations from Brexit are felt around the world today as global stocks plunge. We take a look at the local impact. Also, some veterans received other than honorable discharges for reporting sexual assault. A San Diegan shares her story about veterans coming home.
There's a young group of people here. There's startup potential, there's space, and it's just like moving forward, we just need to execute on it.
And San Diego's startup scene has been buzzing lately, but how apt are comparisons to Silicon Valley? KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma. A shakeup in Great Britain is being felt around the world tonight. That country voted to leave the European Union, rattling global financial markets and leading to a change in British leadership. Our coverage begins with Matt Friedman of the Associated Press.
This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
It's hard to overstate the earthquake unleashed by Britain's 52 to 48% vote to leave the European Union.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected.
Prime Minister David Cameron led the charge to keep his country in the 28-country bloc. He now says he'll resign by October.
I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination.
Let June the 23rd go down in our history as our Independence Day.
There was jubilation from the leader of the Leave movement.
The dawn is breaking on an independent, united kingdom.
Boris Johnson, London's colourful former mayor, campaigned hard for Britain's departure from the EU. He's now a leading contender to be Britain's next Prime Minister.
And to those who may be anxious, whether at home or abroad, this does not mean that the United Kingdom will be in any way less united, nor indeed does it mean that it will be any less European.
News of the vote sent the British pound to its lowest level since the 1980s. Global markets plunged, with the New York Stock Exchange down more than 500 points during the day. Now comes the hard part, how to unravel Britain's complicated relationship with the EU and its member states.
We now expect the United Kingdom government to give effect to this decision of the British people as soon as possible, however painful that process may be.
President Barack Obama says he spoke to Cameron Friday.
I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations.
Obama said the EU, as well as NATO, will remain reliable partners with the U.S. Matt Friedman, Associated Press.
San Diego Congressman Darrell Issa says the Brexit vote won't change the friendship between the U.S. and Britain. In a written statement, he said, in a democracy, the people have a right to chart their own future. He also said he looks forward to bolstering America's trade relationship with Britain. The San Diego Regional Economic Development Council says the UK is this region's biggest foreign employer by number of jobs. Here are some of those numbers. More than 11,000 people, an estimated $695 million in wages, and more than 200 UK-based companies. University of San Diego Associate Professor John Alquist says Brexit could have an impact.
There's going to be impacts on scientific research and development because there's a lot of European-wide grants and funding agencies and funding initiatives and so forth that many UK universities and firms are engaged in, and I can imagine that would also be connected into the San Diego region in basic research and in biotech.
For more on the Brexit vote and what it could mean to the U.S., stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour tonight at 7 here on KPBS. Today, the San Diego Association of Governments completed the framework for a half-cent sales tax increase proposed for the November ballot. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the final version has some important changes.
Friday's SANDAG board meeting was long and it was heated. A small number of volunteers with the environmental group San Diego 350 spoke past their allotted 2 minutes and were escorted out of the meeting room. They and several other environmental and labor groups have opposed the tax measure because it funds certain highway expansions and lacks a project labor agreement that would assure union wages are paid on projects.
While many cities in this region have been working towards building more transit-oriented development and more affordable housing and walkable, healthy neighborhoods, this proposal goes in the opposite direction.
A big last-minute change to the measure was a legally binding commitment to build priority transportation projects within 15 years. Among those projects is the Purple Line trolley that would run from the San Ysidro border crossing to Kearny Mesa. Colin Parent with the transit advocacy group Circulate San Diego suggested that change.
This is going to give real, clear assurances both to advocates for transit, but then also to the voting public that SANDAG is going to make transit a priority and is going to build it in early periods of their plan.
The SANDAG board's final vote to approve the measure is expected in 2 weeks. The tax would need 2/3 of the county-wide vote to pass. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
California power officials say San Diego should meet energy needs this summer. Today, San Diego Gas and Electric announced its summer power outlook. The utility was joined by state energy officials. Steve Burbrick is president and CEO of California ISO, the nonprofit that operates the majority of California's power grid. He says although energy resources are secured, anything can happen.
We will need, though, the customer support. We will need them to respond when we have a flex alert. And they did. Just this last Monday, we issued a flex alert, and we saw 1,000 to 1,500 megawatts of load coming off the system.
For tools and resources to help save energy this summer, visit sdg&e.com. 2 people have been killed in a wildfire roaring through mountain communities in central California. A Kern County fire captain says the bodies of 2 residents were found at a popular recreation area east of Bakersfield. The fire has destroyed 80 homes and is threatening more than 1,000 others. So far, it's burned 29 square miles. It erupted Thursday afternoon and moved so fast that many people had little time to flee as propane tanks exploded and smoke obscured the path to safety. A new report says many gay veterans who were dishonorably discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell are trying to get those discharges upgraded. It's been nearly 5 years since the old policy was repealed, and less than 8% of eligible veterans have asked to get their records changed. The military says one reason is a lot of veterans simply don't know that it's an option. A dishonorable discharge excludes vets from benefits such as medical care, military burials, and the chance to re-enlist. Some veterans received other than honorable discharges for reporting sexual assault. San Diegan Stacy Thompson was one of them. She shares her story in Veterans Coming Home.
If you were to ask somebody who lost their leg, are you ever back to the same person? No. You can get a prosthetic leg, but it's different. And it's always going to be different. It's the same with the invisible wound. Mine is on the inside. Originally, I wanted to join the Army. The Marine Corps recruiter showed up, and I was 17, and he did the, what, you think you can't join the Marine Corps? And I was like, watch me. It was probably the toughest thing that I'd ever achieved. Nothing came close to that pride. I got to Okinawa in 1999. I went in a skirt and a pink tank top, and I was very proud to know that I was a strong woman. I was a Marine, and to still be feminine and, you know, feel comfortable in that. I was blindsided. I dealt with sexual harassment. You know, I was one woman to every 60 men, and I had gone out one night And normally I didn't. I kind of kept to myself a bit, and I went out, and that night I was drugged and I was raped by my sergeant, who was my chain of command. Meaning he was the person that if something happened to me, I have to go to report, and I reported it, and the more that I pushed for things to be done and for them to investigate it, the more repercussions came to me, professionally, personally. I was kind of blacklisted. Very shortly after I was raped, I was separated with an other than honorable discharge. I didn't come home to this big, welcome home, Marine. It was, you're no longer a Marine. I lost all my veteran benefits. I was not eligible to go to the VA and receive mental health care. I had such severe PTSD. 13 years went by, and this was eating me up. It took over my life, and I made the decision to fight.
I believe wholeheartedly that in my situation, if the process of reporting the rape had been handled completely outside of the chain of command, it would have allowed me to see my rapist convicted and sentenced to justice.
Attorneys worked for 4 years on my case, and the Department of Defense this January upgraded my discharge to general under honorable conditions, and that meant that I was now eligible for VA compensation.
The pride has never been lost. From the day that I graduated as a Marine, I have been proud of that.
I thank you Marine Corps for building me this way. I learned that you don't give up. You don't give up. You figure out how to adapt to the new situation and overcome it.
We're so grateful that you brought our family.
And being a glass mosaic artist, it has made me recognize the beauty in being so broken. You take these shattered pieces and you build back something that is remarkable.
I guess I was chasing that first high when I first shot up. It boosted me up and I felt all this rush. I would just stay like drugged out, for like weeks.
Earlier this month, the city of San Diego auctioned off some of the leftover stuff from inside the old Central Library. Hundreds of chairs, tables, and other items that didn't go to the library's new location were available to the highest bidder. KPBS reporter Taryn Mento stopped by the former location to find out what sold, what didn't, and how much money the city made from the auction.
Of the roughly 600 lots up for sale, more than 300 remain unsold. High-profile items like the card catalog went for $1,400, while the theater seats sold for as little as $6 to as much as $150 per row. Even the streaming service Netflix picked up a few dozen lots. The company is actually filming an upcoming production inside the library over the next few weeks and purchased some items for props. In total, the city earned just less than $12,000 from the sale, which will go to the city's general fund. City spokesman Paul Brensick says the dollar amount may not be huge, but every item sold is one fewer that will end up in a landfill.
The money that was raised probably not as impressive as the volume of equipment that was sold.
Brensick says the leftover items weren't too surprising.
There was quite a few, mainly bookshelves that were left over. As you can imagine, in today's day and age, bookshelves are not as popular as they may have been in the past. So a majority are chairs and bookshelves that are pretty dated.
The city will hold another auction next month with AAA Public Auction, which organized the first event and has a 5-year contract with the city. As for the library building itself, Civic San Diego is currently reviewing proposals for how to repurpose the building. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
If you follow news about local startup companies, you've probably heard this a lot lately. San Diego is the next Silicon Valley. KPBS tech reporter David Wagner asks, really?
It's a pretty bold claim. The idea that San Diego, with a much smaller tech workforce and much fewer venture capital dollars than Silicon Valley, could actually be the next center of the tech universe. I wanted to know if anybody working in the local tech industry actually thinks it's true. So I came down to the closing festival of San Diego Startup Week and asked people if they really think San Diego could be the next Silicon Valley.
Not quite. I don't think that that's true.
We're in a league of our own.
San Diego's definitely its own unique entity.
I don't think that San Diego is going to be the next Silicon Valley, but I do think it has the potential to be a major startup ecosystem and innovation hub.
Tim Ryan is the co-founder of Lab Fellows, a local startup that caters to the needs of biotech companies. Most people here agreed with him. They tended to say, no, San Diego is not the next Silicon Valley, but that's part of why they like being here. Jules Schwab is with Team Vibe, a workplace social networking site.
You go into Silicon Valley and it's huge. You've got big names, right? And here, there's just a stronger sense of community where everyone's pretty much 1 to 2 years into their company. We're a very small-knit, tight community.
True believers say San Diego's startup scene may be small, but it's growing. On Startup Week's website, organizers said there was a lot to celebrate this year because media outlets, including KPBS, were talking about whether San Diego could be the next Silicon Valley. A handful of people here fully endorsed that idea. Shadrach Vaughn is co-founder of Light App, which teaches millennials about personal finance.
It's totally possible. I mean, one, the housing is much cheaper here. There's a young group of people here. There's startup potential, there's space, and it's just like moving forward, we just need to execute on it.
But some basic facts show San Diego has a lot of catching up to do. Silicon Valley companies raise a lot more venture capital. Last year, they got about $28 billion of it. San Diego companies got just above $1 billion, and most of that went into biotech. San Diego also has far fewer tech workers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the heart of Silicon Valley has 2.5 times as many people working in jobs like computer programming and software development. That number doubles if you factor in workers from other parts of the Bay Area, like San Francisco and Oakland. But San Diego optimists say the tide could be turning. They say the Bay Area is getting too saturated, and those looking to jump ship could be attracted to San Diego. That rings true to Andrew Gazdecki. He's the CEO of a startup called Business Apps, and he just relocated his company to La Jolla.
We brought some things down from San Francisco. We brought Ridiculous arcade game, Big Buck Hunter.
His company aims to make designing an app really easy for small business owners.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
The Business Apps office definitely looks like a San Francisco startup. It has the break room ping pong table, the standing desks, the relaxed vibe. But Gazdecki says San Francisco was actually not a good home base for his company.
We really struggled to find experienced leadership in San Francisco just because of the level of competition for those sorts of roles.
Gazdecki was frustrated by how crowded San Francisco was getting, so he started recruiting in other cities. He found qualified candidates in San Diego, and that's what convinced him to move.
What we looked at was, how can we create a competitive advantage by essentially being, a bigger fish in a smaller pond?
Gazdecki thinks San Diego could be the next Silicon Valley, but he doesn't know of any other Bay Area startups that have recently uprooted for greener pastures in San Diego. He hopes Business Apps is pioneering that migration, but he admits it's not a real trend yet.
It's a lot of work. But the benefits we're seeing clearly outweigh, the effort and cost it took to make the move. So we're pretty happy with what we did and couldn't really be more confident in the company's future here.
So, is San Diego the next Silicon Valley? Some say it could be. Most say the comparison is misguided. But everyone I spoke with for this story was optimistic that San Diego can make a name for itself. David Wagner, KPBS News.
Turns out next month's All-Star Game is the cause for those rocks under I-5. The interim superintendent at Poway Unified has a pretty big mess to tidy up, and Kilroy Realty takes another pass at a smaller one Paseo. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
Another heat wave is heading towards San Diego. Steph Davis says temperatures will begin to climb throughout the county this weekend. That's tonight on the KPBS Weather Report.
Happy Friday, everyone. Nothing to worry about weather-wise as we roll throughout the weekend. Satellite and radar showing quiet conditions all across the West Coast. Taking a closer look around home, that's also what we'll see. Not a whole lot picking up here on satellite and radar, and that's the way we will stay as we head into our Friday night. So if you have Friday night plans, you should be good to go. The weather definitely cooperating all across our region. Borrego Springs will enjoy clear skies as we wrap up the work week. Overnight lows falling back near 70 degrees, 51 and partly cloudy tonight in Mount Laguna. Back to the mid-50s, Ramona, 57 in Alpine, a quiet night in Oceanside. Your low temperature is 62 degrees, 65 with patchy clouds in San Diego itself. High pressure strengthening across much of the southwest, allowing for another dry day as we kick off the weekend for our Saturday. Mix of clouds and sun, and temperatures will be warmer. Now, the National Weather Service has issued a beach hazard statement in effect for the beaches across Southern California through Sunday evening. Definitely want to watch for rough surf and strong rip currents. So if you're heading to the beach to enjoy your weekend, just make sure to heed those lifeguards warnings. Here's a look at your 5-day outlook across the coast. Fog to sunshine Saturday, high temperature 77. Enjoying a pleasant wrap up to the weekend Sunday, mostly sunny with your daytime high at 77 degrees. Temperatures will climb as we look ahead to next week, partly sunny and low 80s on Monday. 84 is your daytime high Tuesday. Plenty of sunshine on the coast on Wednesday with your high temperature at 81 degrees. 5-day outlook inland showing fog lifting for sun as we kick off the weekend Saturday. Highs in the upper 70s. Will remain in the upper 70s Sunday under mostly sunny skies. Partial sunshine on tap for Monday and Tuesday. Warm as high temperatures break into the 80s, 79 and mostly sunny for the midweek inland. 5-day outlook across the mountains, mostly sunny and warm Saturday, high 86 degrees. We're flirting with 90 for your Sunday. Early next week, break into the 90s Monday. Can't rule out a passing shower. Partly sunny and hot on Tuesday and Wednesday with daytime highs in the mountains breaking to the low 90s. 5-day outlook for the desert, sunny and very warm out there Saturday and Sunday as temperatures skyrocket well into the triple digits. 111 is your daytime high Monday and Tuesday. Partly sunny and warm weather continues right into your Wednesday. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour, the future of Europe after Britain's crucial vote. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
Cubas Gay Men's Choir Mano a Mano is embarking on a U.S. tour this weekend. The group is scheduled to perform with the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. AP reporter Christine Armaria says both choirs have charted history in their respective LGBT communities.
Sitting around a keyboard, 6 Cuban singers reflect on love and longing. The group, Mano a Mano, rehearsing for an upcoming performance with the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. A trip that comes amid restored diplomatic relations between Washington and Havana.
I believe this is the first time there is a real exchange between the gay community in the U.S. and in Cuba.
The Gay Cuban Choir is the brainchild of Cuban-American producer Fermin Rojas. Rojas says he wanted to bring the gay choral movement to an island where gays were once sent to prison and labor camps.
Having an audition for a gay men's chorus in Cuba was like, okay, how do you go about doing that? Because it's never been done before.
Within a few months, the group was performing in Havana.
Hi, my name is Orlando. I'm based.
With the help of President Raul Castro's daughter, Mariela, a vocal LGBT activist, the men say life has improved for gay Cubans, but that challenges remain.
It's not violence, but it's not good yet. It's not good yet.
Their first U.S. visit comes in the wake of the mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando, casting a pallor over usually joyful notes.
It became very obvious to us that this show, while being a celebration of the Cuban culture, also was going to be a way to honor those lives that were lost.
In between rehearsals, the men got their first taste of a country most had only known through stories. Ariane Ferrer Castro wept when he entered a supermarket.
You crying?
Yes.
Over the peppers? Why?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen that many peppers?
No, but only see red and green. It's so many. Wow.
For Fermin Rojas, shared experiences on both sides of the Florida streets is what he hopes will bring a divided community together.
My mind is American, but my heart will always be Cuban. And I think doing this is helping me personally reconcile those, find a bridge between them.
One that starts, perhaps, with song. Christine Armario, The Associated Press.
San Diego's International Fringe Festival kicked off last night with an emphasis on international. One troupe came from New Zealand to perform 1918, a theatrical dance response to the devastating Spanish flu pandemic that killed nearly a third of the population of Samoa and was a catalyst for resistance against New Zealand's colonial government. 1918 will be performed again on Sunday. It's just one of the 100 shows being performed at 18 San Diego venues through July 3rd. Go to kpbs.org for more information. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.